Hello, how's everybody doing out there? How's everybody doing? My name is Folk, and I'm the founder and CEO of TASDN, the Transatlantic Slave Descendant Network. And I'm coming to you live today from TASDN headquarters to introduce our company to you. I'll go over the history and the origins of TASDN. I also like to introduce you to the mission and the purpose of the Transatlantic Slave Descendant Network, in addition to addressing some underlying issues that we see have arisen in the media in regards to the slave descendant movement in the United States of America and our position, TASDN's position in that movement. I'll also answer some questions that have come up from members of our organization in regards to our position in the slave descendant movement here in the United States and internationally, and also where we are headed from this point due to a lot of the political upheaval that we see the slave descendant movement has caused. So with that being said, I started TASDN back in 2015. Now, the origins of TASDN, the motivation of TASDN came from a research project I had been assigned at the time at the university I attended. Now, the mission of this research project was to diagnose the current social and economic ills that plague the African American community. But more importantly than diagnosing these ills, the overall purpose was to come up with detailed solutions and cures for these array of ills. And through this mission, through this assignment, the muse for TASDN was given, and the mission, the purpose of TASDN was created. And so what I discovered during the process of this research was that the condition of the African American community in the United States had little to do with a lot of the common criticisms you hear from the dominant society, i.e., culturally inept, morally corrupted, waiting for handouts. It had little to do with those. It had actually nothing to do with those criticisms. Those criticisms were disproven. And the condition, negative condition, social and economic, had more to do with the horrid legacy of the African American community. And what I mean by that is the enslavement of African Americans. And for 250, 260 years, what I like to call, what I coined beast slavery, where the humanity was stripped from the African American, from the African in America. The humanity was stripped, and the African American was regulated to beast of the land. If you look at how they were treated, they were not treated as humans. They were treated as beast of the land. And this is the first slavery in the history of the world where humans were relegated to beast and seen as animals and not human slaves. If you look at that enslavement that took place actually about 300 years here on the continent of America, and then immediately after that slavery, those people were launched into a system of economic and social sabotage and domestic terrorism for 100 years, 120 years successively after beast slavery. If you look at the horrid legacy of those systems back to back, you can see why the negative social and economic condition of the African American is still present in the United States today. And so by diagnosing these issues and seeing that the root cause of these issues were from the horrid legacy, TASDN was born, the Transatlantic Slave Descendant Network. And the reason I decided to start a network was because I realized that this was a national issue, and to administer the cures and the solutions that I had created, it would need to be done on a national level. Now, there were two ways, two vehicles that I decided that would be most effective to administer these cures to the African American community. One would be a federal policy that could reach the African American nationally. But however, at the time, I did not have the political capital or influence to launch a federal program. However, I did have the business acumen to start a national network that would allow me to administer the detailed solutions and cures that I created during the research project that I was assigned. And so, with the realization that it was the legacy of slavery that caused the current condition, and the understanding that the ability to cure this horrid legacy could be done through a network, TASDN was born, the Transatlantic Slave Descendant Network. Now, the site was launched in 2015, and there have been other slave descendant organizations that have sprouted up since then, and that's great. The way I see it is that these other organizations are just a different hammer hitting the same nail to this work that needs to be done. Now, our mission is to organize and to empower the slave descendant community nationally and internationally through our common goals of social, economic, and political interests. Now, TASDN's unique mission is to organize the synergy of the slave descendant community internationally behind each other's movements, political, social, and economics movements. And here's what I mean by that. If African Americans have an agenda of reparations, have an agenda of political, social, and economic empowerment for the African American community, then in America, other slave descendants from the diaspora will coalesce and fall behind and support the political, economic, and social agenda of the African American in America. If African Americans are in Brazil and there is a political, social, and economic movement in Brazil, the African American will fall in line behind the Brazilian African, the African Brazilian, and support the political, economic, and social agenda of the African Brazilian. If the African Brazilian is in Jamaica and there's a political, economic, and social agenda for the Jamaican African, the descendant of Africa, the slave descendant of Jamaica, that African Brazilian will fall in line and support the economic, social, and political agenda of that Jamaican African slave descendant. This is how we will accomplish our goals. There is no other way. The assimilation of 6 million West Indian, Brazilian, South American, African slave descendants in the United States calls for this unity. Now, if you are on board with organizing, with supporting your fellow man under this common goal, then we need you in this company. We need you as part of our organization. And we hope to hear from you as soon as this message touches your screen and your ears. Now, for those of you who decide that you do not want to support this agenda, then that's in your interest, and we're okay with that. We would only ask that you do not sabotage the unity, the organization, the synergy that comes from coalescing the slave descendant community here in the United States of America and internationally. We are supportive of all other Black organizations that are about Black empowerment, that is about taking care of our people, supporting our people, whether it be the Nation of Islam, whether it be any Pan-African organization out there. You have our full support as a Black empowerment organization. However, this organization is not rooted in race. It's rooted in legacy. It's about the legacy of slavery, and that is what unifies us. Not our race, not our skin color, but our legacy, the transatlantic slave descendant legacy. And so, with that being said, if you are interested in joining this organization or knowing more about what we provide, what are the detailed solutions, how we go about implementing those solutions, our mission and our goals moving forward, then I encourage you to reach out to our company at TASDN.Inc. on Instagram. That's TASDN.INC on Instagram. Or send me an email directly at folkgm@tasdn.org. That's FOLKGM at tasdn.org. Now, my website is www.tasdn.com, and that's www.tasdn.com. You can also reach me and register there for membership, or send an email for any questions in regards to what this organization entails and how you can be a part of TASDN. So once again, my name is Folk. I'm the CEO and founder of the Transatlantic Slave Descendant Networks, and I look forward to giving you more information in regards to what TASDN is all about. Thank you, and I hope to hear from you soon.